Hi guys, it's Maya. I'm just going to do a quick run through of the disease tracker and just this is an introduction to the app itself because I think sometimes that helps quite a bit, and I think I forgot to record it in last night's class. So this is 2.4 disease tracker, and what's happening is that you are collecting data for the CDC. So you are creating an app where you can select a month and then you can type in a number of people who have the flu, and then you should be able to store all of that data in a list somewhere. So as you can see, they're talking about the difference between dynamic lists, which would be lists where the items can change, and static lists. So static lists are what you made for the Charades app, where it was just a list of like movie titles or things, and it just pulled randomly from the list. Perfectly fine. That's a static list. In this case, however, things can be added to and deleted from the list. So here are the design requirements. So you need the app to be able to, the user should be able to enter the number of patients who have the flu for each month of the year, and it should store the information. Then you should be able to calculate the sum and the average, and then somewhere you should be able to display everything that's on the list. And finally, you should be able to clear everything and start over. So I recommend that you start with the smallest possible thing. Tiny little thing. Okay, does the spinner work? And how do I enter number of people with the flu and get it to save? Just do that first. Then add a little bit more detail to it, because otherwise you're going to get lost in the weeds on this one. So they have a little reminder of paired programming. The disease tracker AIA is the starter piece for App Inventor, and then they go through and they talk about the view layer. The design view in App Inventor is your view layer, and then you're going to connect it. You're going to see what happens, and you're going to notice that the month spinner is supposed to do something, and they want you to look at what it does, so that when you see it, you can see that, oh, where's it getting those values? Well, obviously you're going to discover that those values are built in to the spinner. It's one of the reasons why I have issues with spinners, is sometimes they have stuff in there that you don't want, and you have to change them. Then they talk about dynamic lists. So notice the month spinner is a static list. The names of the months of the year do not change. It is a list. It pulls them every time. Then you have a dynamic list. And a dynamic list changes. You can add things to it. You can take things off. You can go back and edit something at index 4. So in a list, everything has like a list number. Like it's number 1 in the list, it's index 1. If it's number 5 in the list, it's index 5. And so you can go in and mess with it. We went ahead and watched the dynamic list video here during class, and then we went and we started talking about the control and the model layers. So it's important to think about, what does the event handler do? So when I put my finger on as the user, when I touch the spinner, what does it do? Great. Now, what happens when I touch the text box as a user? That's what you want to be thinking about. And adding that add button, what do you actually want it to do? You want to take something and move it to somewhere else, right? So that's what they're trying to get you to start with, is the super simple stuff. And then they go through and they give a little more description of lists, and they have you go ahead and get started. So when you start your app, it looks like this on the design window, and you'll notice that your blocks window, this is all you get. And for some of you, that's going to be quite a relief. But for others of you, that's going to be really hard. So the first thing you have to do is figure out what you want the app to do. Go ahead and bring up your emulator or test it on your tablet and make sure you know what it already does, so then you can figure out, go at it from a usability standpoint. What do I want to have happen when I click here? And start with one small thing and work your way up to the big things.